welcome back to the channel of GDG MMMUT. So today we are going to discuss three problems of starters 242 contest of Codechef. Let's start with the problem number 2, which is the early certificates. Now let's see what the problem says. The Chefland tennis tournament has reached its final match. The two finalist names are given by the two strings A and B of length N and M respectively. It is guaranteed that A and B contain only lowercase English characters and they also start with the same letter. The organizers want to engrave the winner's name on the trophy as soon as possible. However, since the match has not begun yet, they decide to do the best they possibly can, only engrave the part of the name that is guaranteed to be correct regardless of who wins. Thus, the organizer will engrave the longest string that appears at the beginning of both A and B onto the trophy. Given A and B, determine the string engraved on the trophy before the match starts. So, what the problem is saying is that we have to simply print the longest common string from the beginning. So for this, we can also see the examples here. There are two strings, one is Alice and second is Alonso, and what the output is coming is AL. So AL is the only common string which is from the beginning, AL. So for this, we can see the code. So in the code, firstly, we have taken the input of test cases and then we have taken the input of the length of both the strings and then we have taken the input for both the strings and then we have calculated the minimum length among both the lengths N and M. Now we are running a loop and checking for the characters of the string A and string B if they are equal or not. If the character of string A at that specific index is equal to that of string B, then we are simply printing that character. And if there comes any character which is not equal, for that we have else part and we are having this break statement. So we will simply come out of the loop and no characters will be printed after this. And we will have our output. Now let's move to the third problem, draft picks. Now let's read. N people are preparing to play a card game. The people are numbered from 1 to N. There are K cards with exactly one card having strength X. For each, 1 is less than equal to X is less than equal to K. In an attempt to keep things fair, the players decide to pick the card in a snake draft. This means the process as follows. First, player 1 will pick one card, then player 2 will pick one card, then player 3 and so on until player N picks a card or all the cards have been picked. After all N players have picked one card each, the order reverses. Player N will pick a card, then player N minus 1 and so on until player 1. After all N cards have been picked, one card each. After the order reverses again, so players 1 to N will pick their cards in this order. The process of players picking one card each in order from 1 to N or N to 1 and then reversing order continues over and over again till all K cards have been picked. On their turn, every player will always pick the card with the maximum remaining strength. The deck strength of a player is defined to be the sum of the strength of all the cards they picked. So, what the problem is saying is that there is a card game going on and there are n players from 1 to n and there are k cards given to them. Now the players will start picking the cards in the order like from 1 to n, and if the cards are still left, now this time the players will pick the cards, remaining cards in the order n to 1 in the reverse order. Now this process will be carried on until all the cards are over. And every time for every player, we will be calculating the deck strength of that players, and at the end when all the cards are over, we will print the maximum deck strength any player has. Now we can see the flow chart for this problem. Like firstly we will read the test cases and then we will read the number of cards and the number of players from the user, and we will create this array for storing the deck strength of each player, and this maxi variable is for storing the maximum deck strength. Now we will check, there will be a loop and we will check if the number of card is greater than 0, then firstly, for the order is from 1 to n. So for this, we are running a loop from 1 to n, and every time we will be checking if the cards are greater than 0 or not. Then only we will be storing the deck strength for that player in this sum array, and every time we will keep on adding the deck strength for that player. Like like there are 7 cards and 3 players. For player number 1, firstly we will be storing the 7 here, and then we will be calculating the maximum in the maxi variable, and then we will minimize, like, because one card has been picked by player number 1. Now next time for player number 2 we will be storing 6, and then then again for player number 3 we will be storing 5. And now if the cards are still greater than 0, then we will run the loop in the reverse order. Now player 3 will pick the card, then player 2 will pick the card, then player 1 will pick the card, and their deck strength will be stored in this sum of array again and again, and sum will be calculated of their deck strength, and every time maximum will also be calculated. Then after all the cards are over, then we will print the maximum among the all the players. The player with a maximum strength, we will be printing his deck strength. We can see the code for this problem. Firstly, we have taken the test cases, and then we have taken the input for number of players and number of cards. We have created this vector for storing the deck strength of each player, and the maxi variable is for storing the maximum deck strength. Now we have this while loop which checks if k is greater than 0, and then we have inside this we have this for loop which will run from I is equal to 1 till I is equal to n, and it will check if card is greater than 0, then we will be storing the deck strength for that player. Like player 1 will be stored, then maximum will be calculated, then number of cards will be minimized, and then again for player 2 deck strength will be stored, and again this loop will be continued till number of players are over. Now, if number of cards become less than 0, then we will have the else part and we will come out of the loop. And if still the number of players cards are greater than 0, then this time the loop will be executed in the reverse order, and same process will be carried on. Maximum will be calculated, and if the number of card becomes less than, again and again this loop will be running, and if the card become less than 0, then we will come out of this while loop also, and we will be printing the maxi which was calculated. Now let's move to the problem number 4, eventually equal. So in this problem we are given 3 integers a, b and c, and we have to make the integer a and b equal by doing 2 types of moves. There are 2 types of move given. Like move 1, we can replace a by gcd of a and c, and b by gcd of b and c, or we can increment c by 1, and at the end we have to calculate the minimum number of moves needed to make a and b equal. We can see the example also. Like there are 3 integers given, 5, 5, 12. Integer a and b are already equal, so we need not to calculate any number of moves. Number of moves will be 0. But in the second test case, we can see like integer a is 7, integer b is 6, and integer c is 13. Now, integer a and b are not equal. For this, we will be replacing a by gcd of a and c, and b by gcd of b and c. Now both the integers become equal by being replaced with their gcds. So the move will be calculated here, and it will be 1. So 1 will be printed. Now we can see the flowchart for this following problem. Firstly, we are reading the test cases, and then we are reading the integer a, b and c, and initially we will check if both the integers are equal, and if the integers are equal we will simply print 0 as the result. But if they are not equal, then there will be 2 cases. Like case 1, we will be only incrementing C here, and in the case 2, firstly we will replace A and B by GCD of A and C and GCD of B and C, and then we will increase C. So let's see the case 1 first. Like we are storing C in a temporary variable, and is this answer 1 is for calculating the moves, and then we are checking if the GCD of A and temp is equal to GCD of B and temp. If it is not, then we are incrementing C, which is stored in temp, by 1 and the number of moves by 1. And if it becomes equal, then we are just storing the result as answer 1, the number of moves. Now we will come to the next next case, and now we will replace, which says use GCD once then increase C. Now we will replace A by GCD of A and C, B by GCD of B and C, and this answer 2 is for storing the number of moves, and initially it will store 1 because we have done one move of replacing A and B by their GCD. Now we will check if this replaced A and C and replaced B and C, their GCDs are equal or not. If they are not, then we will increment C by 1 and we will also increment our number of moves, that is answer 2 by 1. And if it becomes equal, then the result will be answer 2. Now we will be calculating the minimum among answer 1 and answer 2. That will be our minimum number of moves, and we will print that. Now we can also see the code for this problem. This is the code. We are firstly taking the test cases, then we are taking the three integers A, B and C, and if we are checking initially that if the both A and B are equal, if they are equal, then 0 will be printed, and if they are not equal, then we will be, this M1 is for storing the moves for the first case, and M2 is for storing the moves for the second case, and TM is a temporary variable for storing C. And now for the first case, we are just incrementing the temporary variable and calculating the number of moves. And then for the second case, firstly we are replacing the number of A and B by GCD of A and C and GCD of B and C. Then we are incrementing the move by 1 because one move we have done here, and then we have this loop which will calculate the number of moves, and at last we will be calculating the minimum among M1 and M2, and that will be our answer. So if you found this video helpful, please like this video, share with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel of GDG MMMUT.